Hi everyone, I'm Earth Network's meteorologist Steve Principali here with you for this very important Hurricane Irma update on Friday, September the 8th, 2017. Needless to say, a dangerous, life-threatening storm bearing down, heading toward Florida as we head into the weekend. So we're going to give you an update on the storm, where it's located as of Friday afternoon, its main threats that it's going to bring, a time frame and timeline, as well as how you can stay safe and some of the key safety tips for getting ready for this very dangerous storm. First, I want to show you the Spheric Maps application. Now, this is something that you can get through Earth Networks as well. You can get this for 7 days. Take a look at some of the layers that we have. We've got this updating in near real time, including lightning data, satellite data, information on not just Hurricane Irma, but also Katia and Jose, two other hurricanes that we're watching as well. In addition to that, you can put on radar information and get watches and warnings information, all on the Spheric Maps application. So the place to go to get that, go.earthnetworks.com/Irma, and you'll get your trial there. In the meantime, here is Spheric Maps, and here is dangerous Irma. Right now, moving between Cuba and the Bahamas. Packing winds as of the 2 o'clock Eastern Time advisory of 155 miles an hour. That is a dangerous Category 4 storm. Category 5 is 157. There's not much of a difference, friends, whether this is a low-end Cat 5 or a high-end Cat 4. It's a dangerous storm, life-threatening, potentially catastrophic as it moves just north of Cuba, away from the Turks and Caicos, through the central Bahamas, lashing many of those islands with winds that are gusting certainly well over 100 miles an hour. Very heavy rainfall, over a foot in some areas. Storm surge in the Bahamas that could be in excess of a foot, maybe up to 15 or 20 feet too. It's going to continue in a west or west-northwestward fashion, marching it just along and just north of Cuba as we head into Saturday. That's September the 9th. Notice it maintains its strength as it moves over very warm water, one of the ingredients you need for intensification of these powerful storms. And then, notice very carefully, it takes a turn then to the northwest and then eventually to the north as it gets into the day on Sunday, right near the Florida Keys, moving over Florida, the southern part of Florida. But I want to stress again, this cone of uncertainty that we talk about and have mentioned all week. Do not pay attention to the black line here. Pay attention to the cone of uncertainty. There can still be some wobbling of this storm back and forth. More computer data as it comes in will indicate maybe a shift to one side or the other. Point is, all of Florida and the Florida Keys will feel the impact of this as we head into the up-and-coming weekend and as it pulls away from Cuba, the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos. So as it comes into Florida, likely on Sunday morning, that would be September the 10th, expect to see a storm surge, perhaps with high tide, getting close to a foot across the Florida Keys and portions of South Florida. Additionally, very heavy rainfall, flooding that will extend far inland. Isolated tornadoes are a threat as well, especially on the northeast flank of this storm. There will also be tremendously damaging winds that will cause irreparable damage, that will also damage many homes and wipe out some mobile homes too. Gas station canopies will be damaged. Trees, power lines will be coming down. There will be likely millions in the dark after this storm. So I stress again, if you are told to evacuate, do it. If you haven't done so already, we want everyone to get to a safe place. We want everyone to get out of the path of this. And we want everyone, obviously, to listen to those local officials that are trying to keep you safe as this storm will continue to move right across the Florida Peninsula during the day on Sunday. So this includes areas like Naples and Fort Myers, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Lake Okeechobee, up towards Orlando, West Palm Beach, Tampa, St. Pete, getting up towards Jacksonville as we head into Monday. This is going to move right through Florida. So winds will be gusting 70, 80 miles an hour. Even across central Florida, you'll have hurricane-force wind gusts as it maintains that kind of intensity. Trees, power lines will come down. Homes will be damaged. Roofs will be damaged. Many people will be homeless after this. As it heads then into Georgia, it will continue to weaken as it interacts with land, and we do expect it to be a heavy rain producer while the winds will continue to diminish. Then it goes from a hurricane on Spheric Maps down to a tropical storm and eventually a tropical depression as it moves towards Atlanta and northern parts of Georgia as we head into September the 12th. That would be during the day on Tuesday. So again, this weekend, especially across Sunday, during the day on Sunday, you're going to feel the impacts. But the storm will produce tropical storm force winds in excess of 39 miles an hour as early as Saturday. So what I want to show you right now, as Chief Meteorologist Mark Hoeksema is working the graphics here and the Spheric Maps application, is the projected time for tropical storm force winds that are 39 to 73 miles an hour. Friends, that can down trees and power lines already and indicates the storm is moving closer and conditions are deteriorating. So right now, again, the storm north of Cuba, south of the Bahama Islands, moving in a west or west-northwestward fashion. So tonight, things will really start to go downhill across the northwestern Bahamas as tropical storm force winds encroach there, as well as the northern part of Cuba. Saturday, during the morning, we'll begin to see things deteriorate in the Florida Keys. Tropical storm force winds getting into the Keys midday on Saturday. Expect to see in Key West those winds of 50, 60 miles an hour maybe. And then by Saturday night, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, those counties along the southern part of Florida will start to feel the tropical storm force winds. Into Sunday morning, Lake Okeechobee, Naples, Fort Myers, as you head towards Miami. Again, tropical storm force winds being felt there. Later on Sunday, towards Tampa, St. Pete, and then farther north, Orlando and the Jacksonville, Tallahassee areas will get the tropical storm force winds coming in Sunday evening and Sunday night. Then by Monday morning, tropical storm force winds getting into portions of south and central Georgia as you head towards Savannah and Macon, and then getting towards Atlanta as you head into Monday evening and Monday night, as well as portions of the Carolinas will also feel the effects of this with tropical storm force winds extending over into Alabama as well. This is a large hurricane. I want to stress not just the winds of 155 miles an hour that are dangerous enough, but a large wind field. Hurricane force winds extend out 70 miles from the center. Tropical storm force winds 180 plus miles out from the center of the storm. This is a large storm on the same scale as Hurricane Andrew was back in 1992, except this storm is larger than Hurricane Andrew, which was more compact of a storm. So we need to take this very seriously. It could produce an incredible amount of damage. Tropical storm force winds and the impacts will do the following. Lawn furniture will get blown away. They become, any really ornaments or things like trash cans that are outside are blown away. They're airborne. Trees and large branches obviously get knocked down. Shingles and roofs are damaged. Gutters, siding, windows, again, cars can get damaged as trees come down. Also, air conditioning and HVAC systems are damaged also by debris coming down onto them. And with all of the above, power outages are going to be likely. They could be in the millions very quickly as we head through the course of the day on Sunday across South Florida and then getting through the central part of Florida. So here's what Florida can expect. Battering waves will produce massive beach erosion. There will be roof failure of many homes and buildings. Mobile homes, I mentioned earlier, that just don't have that same fortification, they will be destroyed. Heavy damage of gas station canopies is another hazard as well. Trees will be uprooted. There will be power outages, as we've said, that will be long-lived, as well as water losses. Excessive rainfall, needless to say, that will cause flooding, flash flooding, in addition to the storm surge that we've mentioned associated with dangerous Irma as well. That will cause flooding for miles inland. We could be talking about 3, 4, 5 miles inland, just like we saw with Hurricane Andrew back in 1992 with this particular storm. So there's going to be some big-time flooding concerns, and I should really stress once again, if you're told to evacuate, friends, do so. We want you staying safe. We want your family, friends, pets, loved ones, all staying safe from this dangerous storm. And also, listen to officials. When they tell you to leave, get out. Don't hesitate. When they tell you, and only when they tell you to return, return. It's too dangerous after a storm has passed, or you believe it has passed, to go venture outside in the floodwaters where there could be downed trees, power lines, animals, snakes, alligators, many dangers out there lurking in the water. So we don't want anyone to do that until it is safe to do so, and you're told it is safe to do so. The surge could be just very damaging as well. If the storm surge occurs or coincides with high tide, in portions of South Florida and Southwest Florida, the water levels could rise significantly. We could be talking about a 6 to 12-foot surge in Southwest Florida from Captiva to the Cape Sable area, and a 5 to 10-foot surge from the Jupiter Inlet over towards Cape Sable. So we're talking about a significant surge here that will cause flooding and that will cause a massive inundation across South Florida, including obviously the Florida Keys. About a 3 to 6 foot surge in the Ponce Inlet to the Jupiter Inlet, and about 3 to 6 feet from Venice to Captiva as well. So this surge that we talk about associated with the storm is one of the hazards. Other hazards, rainfall, lots of it. Now, not to the same degree as what we saw with Harvey, obviously, because Harvey wasn't moving much. It was sitting and spinning. This storm has some decent velocity and will move at a pretty good clip through Florida, but will, needless to say, drop plenty of rainfall. Perhaps in the Florida Keys, over a foot. Could be talking 15 inches in some of those areas. Much of South Florida, 10 inches of rainfall or greater, 6 inches of rainfall or more across portions of Central Florida, say as you head from Naples up towards the Orlando area, and then farther north, again, another 6 inches or so of rainfall expected with this. On the central and the western side of Florida, as you head towards Tallahassee, Apalachicola, you're talking about several inches of rainfall perhaps with this storm before it finally pushes away during the day on Monday, courtesy of our friends at NOAA once again. So flooding rain, definitely a concern. Isolated tornadoes, water spouts will be a major hazard as well with this. And we're going to be watching very closely for the threat of tornadoes throughout the weekend across portions of South Florida. So here's our disaster supply kit. Many of you have already put this together this week. Many of you are in the process of doing so. It's a good reminder to keep you safe from this dangerous storm. Obviously, you need plenty of water for yourself, members of your family, as well as food of the non-perishable variety. Flashlights, batteries, keys and cash. Important documents are important to have as well. Blankets and pillows and plenty of clothing for everyone to stay nice and warm. First aid supplies and medication, needless to say, are very important, as well as toiletries. A charged phone can be a real lifesaver. You want to let people know where you are, that you're safe, communicate, get information on the local weather from Earth Networks, for instance, from NOAA. Also, make sure you have an extra battery with your phone, too. That's important. And I alluded earlier to documents, things like Social Security cards, license, insurance information, all that you want to have in a nice dry spot. So take that along with you. Make copies of that if you can. A can opener and tools, also very helpful, obviously, for opening up cans of food and soup you might have. A dust mask, a weather radio, very important as well to keep up with the information. One of those crank radios is very helpful. Make sure it's obviously battery powered. It'll get you information as that storm is bearing down on Florida. You can get information on Irma. You can get information on when it's safe to come back. You can get information on news, airports, travel information. Lots of good data is available there. And then finally, don't forget about every member of your family, including babies, the elderly, pets. Make sure they're staying safe and they've got what they need from a medical standpoint, any special equipment, if they need a walker, if they need a knee brace, if they need diapers, formula, you got all that available as well. So, some important reminders on how to stay safe. Just to let you know, once again, if we haven't stressed this enough, listen to local authorities. When they tell you to evacuate, and many already in Florida have had to evacuate, please listen to authorities and do it. Only when they tell you it's safe to return, then you can return. Don't try to venture out in the floodwaters. It's entirely too dangerous. Use flashlights, not candles. Obviously, there are hazards there. Don't tape windows with an X. We've seen people do this for many storms in the past. It simply only creates a larger area of flying debris that could potentially cause injuries or kill people. So we certainly want everyone to stay safe because flying debris in these storms is a huge problem. Again, don't venture out unless you're told to do so, and it's safe to do so. And use a generator, which many people have responsibly. Don't run it inside or in the garage, even if the windows are open and you believe it to be safe. So just a couple important reminders here from us at Earth Networks. And a reminder to you that we will be providing updates throughout the weekend on this dangerous storm. We're going to be here with you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time to provide an update. On Sunday morning, when the storm is bearing down and making landfall, likely in South Florida, we will be here to provide important updates, life-saving tips to get you through the storm, 10 a.m. on Sunday once again. And I want to remind you, too, we have a team of meteorologists here. Many of them will be working around the clock. We're staffed 24/7, 365, getting you through this storm and many here at Earth Network. So I thank them, led by Chief Meteorologist Mark Hooksma. They're going to be working this weekend to keep you safe. So as a reminder for the timeline, here's when you can expect to have the impacts felt in your area. Once again, this is going to be a potentially catastrophic situation with a Category 4 or Category 5 storm. It doesn't really matter much. This storm is very dangerous and can produce a multitude of effects, from the winds to the surge to the flooding to the isolated tornadoes and water spouts. This is going to be a storm that unfortunately we are not going to forget. Friday night, that's tonight, eastern Cuba and portions of the Bahamas are going to feel the impacts. We've seen it on spheric maps as it's been tracking west and west-northwestward. On Saturday, the focus is going to be more on the northern part of Cuba and then eventually to the Florida Keys Saturday night. Tropical storm force winds will be felt in the Keys, remember, Saturday evening. Then on Sunday, yes, that's when it makes landfall, likely somewhere across Florida in that cone of uncertainty. Florida will really feel the effects throughout the day on Sunday with squally weather, drenching rainfall, storm surge flooding, isolated tornadoes, and again, those damaging winds. Monday, then, the focus shifts into North Florida, as well as Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina as the storm begins to move in a northward fashion into portions of the deep south. Tuesday, then it's going to be impacting Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, even parts of the Carolinas will feel the effects as it moves more in a northwestward fashion, dropping locally very heavy rainfall, perhaps 2 to 4 inches as you head into portions of Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and even the Carolinas and much of the Tennessee Valley there. So we're going to watch the storm very closely because you can see it's going to be impacting a large area of real estate across the United States, some densely populated areas. That's why we're bringing these updates to you. We want you to stay safe, and we also want you to check out spheric maps. If you go to go.earthnetworks.com/Irma, we can get you a trial here, 7-day trial of spheric maps to allow you to navigate with all these layers, track the storms just as we're doing here in real time, providing information on where there's lightning, and we've seen that with the Earth Network's Total Lightning Network, where there are lightning strikes within the storm, often indicating a sign of intensification with Irma. So all that data is available to you, as well as the hurricane warnings and hurricane watches, storm surge warnings and watches that have been issued for portions of Florida, and we expect more throughout the weekend as this dangerous storm, Hurricane Irma, continues to move in a west-northwestward fashion and then eventually takes that turn to the north. I'm going to just stop here and ask Anna, one of our fine members of the marketing team who's been helping us out, tracking this storm and also providing these updates. What kind of questions have we had come in from our viewers on Facebook Live?
We had a question about the amount of rain. Is it going to be similar to what we've seen with Harvey, or is it going to be less or more?
Yeah, we're expecting less, thank goodness, but still enough to cause flooding problems. Harvey obviously dropped just a prolific amount of rainfall. I mean, 30, 40, even up to 50 inches of rain across portions of southeast Texas a couple of weeks ago. Thankfully, the amounts will not be nearly that much, but we will see some communities see in excess of a foot of rainfall from this, especially portions of southern Florida, and we're seeing more of a threat now even for southwestern Florida with some of the surge and some of the flooding. So really all of Florida, especially the southern half of Florida, could see amounts that could be 8, 10, 12 inches of rainfall.
We had another question about whether or not the rest of the Gulf Coast is going to feel an impact from this storm.
Yeah, I mean, this is a large storm, Anna, so there will be impacts felt throughout much of the southeastern United States. This includes Georgia, the Carolinas, Alabama, Mississippi, portions of Tennessee even will feel the impact from this. There's going to be very gusty winds. It's a large storm with a hurricane-force wind field of 70 miles an hour, tropical storm-force wind field that extends about 180 to 185 miles out from the center. So it's a large storm, and it's going to move over an area where it's pretty flat, so that's why we're going to be talking about flooding issues again, and it will impact a large population base. So yes, indeed, especially early next week, you'll feel the effects there as you head into Mississippi, Alabama, with some very heavy rainfall and some flooding as well.
And that's it.
Okay, well, we thank you for tuning in and watching this Facebook Live update on Hurricane Irma. September the 8th, 2017. We'll have an update for you tomorrow morning, bright and early, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. That's 9 o'clock Central Time. And we appreciate everyone tuning in right now. Remember, you can go to go.earthnetworks.com/Irma to get that trial on spheric maps. And from everyone here at Earth Networks, we want you to stay safe as we continue to track this storm. We'll have another update for you on Saturday morning. For Earth Networks, I'm meteorologist Steve Principali. Have a good evening and stay safe.